Things to worry about for the Jaguars. If I would have asked you at the beginning of the year what those things are, you wouldn't say Trevor Lawrence and you wouldn't say Urban Meyer. But that's where we are right now. I'll explain that on a Friday edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Jaguars, a drive time edition of Locked On Jaguars. I am Tony Wiggins, and I appreciate you guys, as usual, making Locked On Jaguars your first listen, your first Jaguars podcast listen of the day. We really, really appreciate that. And just a reminder, we are free on all platforms, everywhere. You don't have to worry about paying anything to get this content because we give it to you absolutely for free. Of course, you guys know I'm the host here of Locked On Jaguars, NFL analyst on First Coast News in Jacksonville, as well as the co-host of Locked On NFL on a Wednesday. Now that I've gotten all of my credentials out of the way, I thought of a question that I would ponder to you over some stuff that I read and some tweets that I've seen and being attached to social media and really trying to engage with folks as it pertains to Trevor Lawrence. A lot of comparison right now to Mac Jones and the team success that Mac Jones has been able to be a part of and the way that he's played in New England. And that leads a lot of folks to point at all of the other quarterbacks that were drafted ahead of Mac Jones and go, what's this all about? What's this all about? What's that all about? Especially with the pre-draft drama of the 49ers trading all of those picks and Miami and Philly doing a lot of dancing and moving around. A lot of questions have come up about Trevor Lawrence. So we won't talk much about Mac Jones because to me, Mac Jones is doing exactly what I thought Mac Jones was going to do, especially with that team. We will, however, discuss Trevor Lawrence. And I think it's very, very interesting that I'm not personally concerned about Trevor. I think Trevor's going to be fine. I think the only thing that could really break me about a guy, especially a rookie in the NFL, is up here. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you don't see I'm pointing towards my temple. That's the thing to me that if I saw that or what's in his chest, now I'm pointing at my heart. If I saw those things as problematic, that would be a cause for concern. However, what I've seen from him right now, a lot of it is things that he does need to work on and does need to clean up. And some of it is him being a rookie and not being a perfect prospect, and nobody is, contrary to what everyone said. But a lot of it is also the scheme, coaching, the people around him, and then the situations they are put into during a game. And he's not really allowed to be a front runner so that he could manipulate, coverages and schemes and do those types of things. So for me, Trevor's fine. Trevor's going to be just fine in terms of his talent and what he brings to the table. I'm looking down at some notes here. His talent and what he actually does bring to the table in the NFL. But here's what I find interesting, and this is going to be a very interesting thing here. There were people who thought that anybody that says anything bad about Trevor Lawrence during the pre-draft process, that anyone who says anything bad about Trevor Lawrence was, they were a hater. They weren't being honest, and they were just hating. They don't want Jacksonville to have nice things. Pardon me for that distraction, but I don't find that to be the case. I really, really don't find that to be the case, and I didn't think it was the case then. One guy's Trent Dilfer. Trent Dilfer said he wasn't a perfect prospect, and I think Ryan Clark said he wasn't a perfect prospect, and there were things wrong, and there were some other people that had Fields ranked ahead of him. I saw even one thing where somebody had Trey Lance ranked ahead of him, and um, folks who really know said that he's having a little bit elongated delivery. Doesn't mean it was slow. It just means it was sort of windy for a guy who was 6'6", and those people were called haters. I always try to tell fans, man, y'all gonna be. I know you guys are gonna be real fanatic, and you're gonna be real emotional about your player, especially when it's a guy that you really, really want to be good. Here's what's interesting, though. Some of those things that those people talked about have come up when it comes to Trevor. And two things can be true at one time. He could be off a little bit mechanically. Every quarterback, look, the GOAT, Tom Brady, in the offseason. Remember the name Tom House? Where Brady had things mechanically that he needed to clean up. Remember those days? So if the GOAT has things that he has to work on in the offseason from a muscle memory perspective, you don't think a rookie is going to have some things that he needs to work out, right? He does. It's just that now, when it's clear to everyone that he does have some things he needs to fix, fans are okay with knowing that those people were right because of this. And here's where the emotion comes into effect. Because now we have somebody to blame. It's Clemson and their offensive coaching staff. Trent Dilfer came out a couple of weeks ago and basically he was talking about Trevor Lawrence, he was talking about DJ Ugalele, I think that's how you say his name. And he was like how these five-star guys sort of regressed under the tutelage of the quarterbacks, coaches, and offensive coordinator at Clemson. And basically he said these dudes come in and they ain't getting no better. And then they're not learning some of the things. And the guy that I follow here locally even tweeted out that he knows football, but a friend of mine, he tweeted out that, this is on Clemson. It doesn't matter who it's on, in my opinion, from this point forward. What matters is, does Trevor Lawrence have the capacity to improve and get better? The other thing that matters to me is when someone says that this is the problem with them and these things need to be corrected, but he's super talented, you can't call him a hater and then admit it 2 months later or 3 months later that, okay, yeah, these things do exist, but it's somebody's fault. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference between evaluating honestly and then just having the raw emotion attached to it. Because the bottom line is, it doesn't matter whether it was Dabo's fault, whether it was Elliott's fault. It doesn't matter what coach's fault it was. If that's what you saw in the process, that's what you saw in the process. Here's the question. Do you trust the current staff and the current administration to be able to identify those things and fix those things moving forward? That gets us to the second person that we're going to have to question. I said in the opening that I never thought we'd be in the middle of this season or just beyond the midway point of the season. And the two parts of this team that you're worried about is Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence. Because what did I tell you? I told you guys something when this thing first started, when the Jaguars fired everybody and then they decided, they were going to hire Urban Meyer. I said, you need a combination of coach and quarterback. That those two things, all the championship teams and all the teams that seem to win, with the best example being Belichick and Brady, that those are the two things that if you get them right, they can carry to a championship. And now those are the things that are cause for concern. So I'll discuss that with you in segment number 2 here on a Friday of Locked On Jaguars. I have to tell the Jaguar fans about this, though, and this means a lot to me and a lot of other people I know, man, because we have these conversations all the time about how expensive gas is. Well, here's help. There's an incredible app that everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside. And Get Upside is an app that's in your app store or it's on Google Play right now, where you get to save and start making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time you fill up. Now, here's the thing. You download the app and you use the promo code Touchdown. The promo code Touchdown will allow you to not only get the 25 cents per gallon on your fill-ups, it'll get you a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. So that's up to 50 cents cash back in your account that you can just take at any time, access it, have it go back to your bank account, to your PayPal account, to eGift, or for Amazon or other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code Touchdown and start saving immediately and getting cash back every time you fill your tank up. 25 cents per gallon, up to 50 cents per gallon on your first initial fill up. Let's get with it, man. It's the Get Upside app. Touchdown is the promo code. Riding and running along here on a Friday for you good folks. Thank you again for making us your first listen here on Locked On Jaguars, as always. I really wanted to touch these things to have you guys ponder your thoughts over the weekend about don't panic and let people think and tell you that Trevor isn't elite. He is. There's some things I did disagree with, though. I never thought he had a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes arm or Aaron Rodgers. I never thought that. Guys that seem like they just flick the wrist and the ball just pops out of their hand like it's on a jugs machine or something. I never thought that. I always thought he had a very, very good arm, though. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady arm, that's what I thought. And trust me, that's nothing to shake a stick at. But Russell Wilson, but I never thought he was like super one of the 5 greatest, hardest throwers ever, no. And the other quarterback that was considered generational, Andrew Luck, he wasn't like that either. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes the expectation goes up so high that we don't want to hear any bad news. We don't want to hear anybody say anything negative. And then when it's not delivered the way that you thought it was, all of a sudden we panic and we go the other way. So you don't have to do that either. The cause for concern to me is when you get a young guy like this, if the coaching staff doesn't stick around, or if you change offensive coordinators every single year, and now you start screwing around with the way things are done. I do think they wasted a lot of time in training camp. So based on the one sample size I have from training camp, I don't trust them for some reason with him. I had somebody in the know tell me they're going to ruin the kid. It's a media member now, so don't start speculating. Another friend of mine in the media, guys up pretty well established for over 25, 30 years, so they're going to ruin that kid, man. And that's what people don't trust. They don't trust that. They don't trust that the scheme, that he's being schemed. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. The team they play Sunday, they scheme up stuff for their quarterback to be successful. They schemed up so good a few years ago. That cat, Jimmy Garoppolo, was one overthrown pass from being a Super Bowl champion. And it was all schemed up. They figure out a way to put him in situations where he just makes throws that are you out formation people. Like the other night, I was watching the game and people were going off like, why didn't Jalen Ramsey follow Deebo Samuel? Defenses aren't set up like that. But how's a corner going to guard a guy who lines up at running back? Or a star. You start on one side of the formation, you go in motion, the safety flip-flop sides, but you stop and go to linebacker. Where you think the safety's going to stand there in the middle of the field next to the Mike linebacker? No, he's not. He's at the go or come back. That's scheming people up. His dad, Mike Shanahan, years ago when the Denver Broncos played Green Bay in the Super Bowl, Shanahan said one of his goals was to formation Leroy Butler out of plays. The great, should be a Hall of Fame safety for the Green Bay Packers back in the day. He said we run a play, but what we do is just change the alignment and run it to the other side. And he'd be stuck over there where he was. We needed to get away from him. So whatever play we were going to run, wherever he was, I think they probably flipped the tight end, strong side, the weak side or whatever, and Butler went, and then they just ran it the other way. It's amazing what they'll do when they want to get away from people and when they want to set someone up to make some plays and make easy plays that help the football team. I don't think Jacksonville's doing that kind of stuff. And then I don't like the fact that they expose him to running either. So the cause for concern for me moving forward is, do we have the right people in place to make sure that this kid doesn't flame out, doesn't hurt himself? And because you're a quarterback, they're going, and a young quarterback, they're going to not require, because you do have the NFL, the CBA, but they're going to hope that he's around here, be the face of the franchise. You gotta be here to save everything. And he may want to go work out with somebody else in the offseason. I think he works out with Jordan Palmer, if I'm not mistaken. But at some point, the mechanical issues and the things that he does, they do have to be addressed and have to be fixed. I don't know there. I'm not smart enough to know what they are. Maybe I'll get Denny Thompson back on and he can explain to me some of the things that Trevor probably needs to fix or work on. The anticipatory things are true. I think at Clemson, he was in an offense where he waited to see stuff. And now what was open in college, you're not going to see that kind of open here in the NFL. But then he has to get guys that can consistently get that little bit of opening, right? And he doesn't have that either here. So it's going to be hard to tell until they're able to get a lot of talent in here, if he's able to overcome that and to go from being solid to good to great. A lot of it depends on the coaching staff. A lot of it depends on Urban Meyer, whether he'll be here for the long run, whether he's going to stick with Darrell Bevel or is he going to keep changing. I've seen quarterbacks in the past get ruined from all of that changing around. One of them was Jason Campbell. And I'm not saying Jason Campbell was ever going to be as good as Trevor Lawrence is expected to be, but he was a first-round pick with a lot of talent. Jason Campbell, when he was with the Washington football team, he probably had like 6 different offensive coordinators in 6 seasons. And that's a recipe for disaster. You just can't have that. So it's going to take a little bit more stability. It's going to take a little bit more creativity offensively for us to see what Trevor really has. I'm going to preview Sunday's game. I know we did it on crossover edition yesterday. I know some people were able, because of technical difficulties, some people were not able to access that. But I'm going to preview what I think the Jaguars have to do. It's a lot to win the game on Sunday. I'm going to do it in just a second here on a Friday edition of Locked On Jaguars. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever, and it's not just because I said so. It's what the people say, man. The people have spoken. Everyone who orders Built Bars because they hear Locked On Jaguars always hits me up and tells me that they are so good. And if you haven't tried a Built Bar by now, you're really, really missing out. They say it's a protein bar, but it doesn't taste like one, because the protein bars that I've had in the past have a tendency to be chalky or waxy or just plain hard to choke down, right? Built Bar is soft, covered in 100% real chocolate, and when you bite into it, you know you're eating something different. It's more of an experience and one that you'll enjoy. In fact, you'll swear you're eating a candy bar and ruining your diet. But trust me, you're not, because the macros are the truth. Packed with protein, low carb, low calorie, low fat, low sugar. It is absolutely dynamic. I love the salted caramel, but you can get an assorted box if you like and try your favorite Built Bar and try to find out what that is. This month, Built Bar is coming out with new limited time flavors every 3 to 4 days. So check the website often. You don't want to miss out. So you go to built.com and use the promo code LOCK15. You're going to get 15% off of your order. That's right. The promo code is LOCKed15 at built.com. Use the promo code and get 15% off at built.com. And I want to tell you about betonline.ag. Why do I want to do that? Because it is the absolute fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports, and you need to get paid. They're back and better than ever in a new web interface for the start of what is now probably a month in on the NBA. The NFL is in full swing right now. It's just time, man. They got college. All of this stuff is getting heated. Big boxing match this weekend for you to bet on with betonline.ag as well. And all of your favorite casino games, it's all there. All you got to do is go to the website, right? Download your desktop or your mobile website. You're going to get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit when you sign up. Just use the promo code locked on. That's right. Let me tell you again. The promo code is locked on for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit at betonline.ag. You need to get there, man, because BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, man. Third and final segment here on Locked On Jaguars. A sneak peek at the San Francisco 49ers walking up into TIAA Bank Field on Sunday to play against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it's tough, even though the record doesn't indicate. I think what 4-5 or 4-6. It doesn't seem like there's much to them, because they were unhealthy, and then they played They played a little bit of a zinger of a schedule because of that division they're in is crazy from top to bottom, right? But they're very good. They're very good. The first challenge is when the Jaguars are on defense. They've had the most success recently when they've gotten after the quarterback, specifically with Josh Allen. That's going to be a challenge now because the mountain of a man, Trent Williams, is at left tackle, and he might be the best in the business right now, and that might be an understatement if I say might be. Some people just flat out think that he is the absolute best at what he does. 71 is formidable. I don't expect Josh Allen to have a whole lot of success, but like most of the times with the defensive end and a left tackle with that matchup, all you got to do is make one. Just make one play. You don't have to, just make one. That's all you need. So that's going to be tough. So the back end might have to cover the way they've been covering without the actual benefit of having a lot of success with the pass rush. Now, the 49ers also love to pound the football with that one cut scheme that they have and get guys up the field. Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. Like me saving the best for last, right? Deebo Samuel, they like to move him around, as I just mentioned in the last segment. Not going to necessarily beat you with speed, but we'll beat you with quickness, short area quickness, and we'll beat you with stuff after the catch. George Kittle is the one, man. George Kittle is a monster. He's a monster in the run game. He's a monster in the pass game. He can get down the field. He's a beast after the catch. They're going to have to gang tackle George Kittle if they're going to be successful. Flip it around a little bit. Offensively, avoid turnovers. The 49ers feasted last week against the Rams because of the turnovers, and they even went to the house with one. So it's going to be a challenge for the offense. And so this is where defense and offense go hand in hand. Man, if they're able to stop the 49ers and don't have to try to match them score for score, it'll decrease the possibility that they'll have to put the ball in the air and be too dangerous and try to force things. So we'll see if Brandon Linder's back. If he is, it's going to be a plus to have him back on the offensive line. They got to block Nick Bosa. Can't let him get loose. Nick Bosa is one of the 3 or 4 best pass rushers in this league, and he has a motor, and he never stops running. So they really got to get after him. This is going to be a test for Cam Robinson. So when I talk about the Jaguars having to be better and be elite, just look at the matchup between the third-year defensive end for them and the third-year defensive end for us and the left tackles. No one expects Josh Allen. I've talked to Jaguar fans. It's like, well, we're not going to measure him by the fact if he doesn't get around Trent Williams, that's not a good measuring stick for whether he's a good player or not. I didn't say he had to get around him and beat him. But watch the flip side. Cam doesn't have to stop Bosa. He just has to contain him and don't let him just dominate him. You see that line of thinking? That's what I'm saying. At some point, we need to get to the point where we know our guy's going to block the other dude all day and he ain't going to get past him. Why can't we talk about our left tackle the way Jaguar fans are talking about Trent Williams? This is what I keep telling folks. Like, if you don't take people, you're going to have to play against them. Because even if you think Josh Allen and Nick Bosa are equals, and I don't, but it's okay. It's close. We fully expect their guy to stop our guy, and we hope our guy can just contain their guy. Now, when you think about that, in your mind, subconsciously, don't you realize now why I say we have to get to the point where we think that way? Remember my old saying? My old saying was we need to don't overcome adversity. We need to learn to be the adversity. We need to learn to be the adversity. That's what they are. They're the adversity. Nick Bosa and Trent Williams is the adversity, and the Jaguars are trying to figure out, and fans are trying to figure out if they can overcome that. That's exactly what I keep telling people when I talk about upgrade everything. I want us to have a Trent Williams. I want us to have a guy like Nick Bosa who you expect and everybody else expect to make Cam Robinson's day long. This is exactly the type of thinking that I'm talking about. Until we can get that, and just think, they got that, and they ain't even one of the best teams in their own division. You see how hard this is? You don't know how much you have to improve until you know how much you have to improve. I just think I see it earlier than everybody else. All right, so check this out, man. I want you guys to have a great, safe weekend. Make sure you make your second listen to Peacock and Williamson podcast. The Peacock and Williamson podcast is the flagship podcast of the Locked On NFL Network. I love it, man. These guys, Brian Peacock is an NFL analyst. You just heard him on a crossover yesterday, and he does a show with Matt Williamson, who's a former NFL scout. And they'll tell you the same stuff I tell you. You got to be great at these positions. You can't just be okay. It's not going to work. So make sure you check that out. Find it, subscribe to it, wherever you get your podcast. Hey, man, y'all take care of each other. Have a great, great day and a great weekend as we get ready to transition to next week, which is the week that we give thanks and spend time with our families. So you guys continue to take care of each other. It's your man, Tony Wiggins, here with Locked On Jaguars on a Friday. Enjoy.